I just want to start by asking if there's anything you need to do uh, to get fully present. Your coffee, your water, your notifications. Like, are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready to dive in. Do not disturb is engaged. Caffeine has been ingested. Uh, Preparation has been done. I'm ready.
And I'm just gonna remind everyone we didn't script this, so we have no clue what's about to happen. That's why we're here. All right, Josh, you can absolutely begin.
All right. So I am absolutely terrified. Not of this session, not of those things, but I have had one of the best weeks I have had personally, professionally, everything. Being present, I felt in control of a lot of different weird client things that went on. Felt like for the first time in a long time, I had felt like I had stepped into the best version of myself. Right. So the stupid thing that hangs in the air is, why do I feel terrified? Because I laid in bed last night knowing that that stupid triangle that we talked about last week is lurking, right? I know that first speed bump, here comes the self-doubt, here comes the imposter syndrome. I already started fighting it a little bit. I was like, man, but what did you do to deserve the week that you had, right? And I was like, okay, oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. And you know, it's probably that classic thing that just happens to me. I get on a roll, and then either something happens that all this stuff comes up, or I begin to prepare for all of those things that will eventually come up. So, I mean, I use the word terrified because, man, it felt so good this week since our last session. So much clarity on the mechanisms of what happens, the nuts and bolts of how these emotions come up and how these emotions come work. That framework really helped me process so much stuff, and just boom, huge jolt from last week. So like win, but in another way, like, oh, okay, we can't stay here. We got to dig, because I know that it still lurks and I can feel it. So, yeah, that's my opening statement.
Yeah, I appreciate the openness, Josh. I am so happy to hear about that week, and I hear you on feeling terrified. But just for a sec, great stuff on that week.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been real cool.
Tell me more about the week. Like, what do you think is driving what just happened?
So, had uh, great client meetings, great prospect client meetings, and it looks like that goal of three clients during our session is on its way to um, at least getting a little closer to be accomplished. And that's just one of the biggest the biggest things for me right now on that business pressure side of that triangle, that is nice and elevated. But it was kind of beyond that too, where it wasn't just that a client showed up. It was the client showed up and they trusted the creative thought from the beginning. It was like, oh, we see you as an expert, and I like these ideas, and let's go with it. And everything was smooth, and I felt, I don't want to say I felt in control, but I felt empowered by it. I felt like this is what I had worked so hard for, to be seen as someone who knows what to do, who knows what to say, who can look at a situation and come up with a good creative plan to go through all of that. And when it's accepted and they're giddy and excitement about it, that makes me feel good. I was able to help some friends out with some video things that went on. Just kind of like, on the side. It's always cool to be to helping friends out with things. Um, and I'm doing like a lot of kind of like remodeling around in my office and different stuff like that to kind of get set for some of the next phase of life with some things like that. And that's always really fun to me. New equipment and setting up that type of stuff is always good. And then I don't know. I guess we can discuss a little bit, even kind of some of our interactions through the week on some of the things that we've been working on. Have I felt good. I felt empowered. Like your voice in my life has been, just the DMs and the texts and everything kept me going and stuff like that. That's yeah. So there's some other things too that are not related, but my daughter had a great week. My wife is in the middle of some great things that happen. So like as a family, everything around me, up and up, really cool, really awesome. So
It's awesome to see, Josh. It's awesome to see, and I hear you on feeling terrified, and like we will get there, and we'll look at that for a sec. I am curious if there. You mentioned like last week, whether it was the triangle or something in last week helped you process some stuff, and I'm curious if you're feeling any specific like insights from last week or any specific nuggets or frameworks that have helped you, because I want to then carry that through. Or hey, maybe this week was a coincidence and it had nothing to do with last week, but I am curious if there's any tie into it, just because when we transition to talking about why you're feeling terrified, I want to see what's been working in your mind so far.
yeah, when it comes to there's there's great power to naming your problems and just saying out loud to another human being, I have imposter syndrome and I never feel like I'm worth anything that I am worth. I don't feel like I deserve any of this stuff. Just saying that out loud and admitting it, there was a release to it. And being able to say that to you when I went to it did, so when I was in all these other client meetings and all of these other situations that I went through in the week, it didn't have as much power over me because I had already admitted it, right? Like it wasn't there, maybe, sure, but it was less powerful. The chain of it was a little looser. I could step in a little bit more with confidence. So that definitely helped with that framework definitely helped saying, okay, this is a piece of what I go through, but it's just a piece and it doesn't have to dictate everything. Boom. Awesome. Just awesome. And, we also talked about like the whole self-doubt thing too. It's like, well, if I know I'm going to doubt myself, I've already owned it. Cool. Let's just go through it. And I think because I got such great client feedback. Oh, I actually, if I can back up just a second too, one of the best things that happened to me this week is I received an amazing email from a client that just said the things that I strive for. It's like, point blank, you are the easiest person that we have ever worked with, right? And which is what I strive to, right? That's the thing I strive for. So all the self-doubt, excuse me. So all the self-doubt, all the imposter syndrome, all of those things didn't have as much power for me. And I got real feedback from real people that I've helped that said, what are you doubting yourself for? You're doing it. You're actually accomplishing the things that you want to do. And getting that real world feedback, it's awesome. just it's so good. I feel so good.
Can we just like sit for a minute and just sit in that for a sec and like just
Yeah,
like take a moment, just let that soak in for a sec. The last week.
yeah. It's it's good, man. It's it's energizing, right? Um, like it's been like 16, 18 hour days every day this week. And I've yeah, like not drained, like energized through it, waiting to get up and hit it hard, already thinking about the next things. Like, yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Oh, I can't wait. I want you to watch last week's session and this and just look at the difference in your face. Cuz I can see it. Like I can just see it's all over what you're expressing right now. Okay. Great job this week.
I appreciate it. Thank
Genuinely
you.
great job this week. Um I heard you say you're feeling terrified, and we've got a solid another 45 minutes here. And I'd love to hear from you. What does a great win feel like for you today that you want to take away in the next 45 minutes?
Um, I kind of want to I want to do like a repeat of last week where, okay, I'm feeling terrified. I want to admit it. I want to own it. I want to understand that it exists. As I don't know, in 45 minutes, you can never understand all the roots of why those things are there, right? I don't know if that's possible, but I want to, let's dig in and say, own it and make it smaller. Just like we did with the imposter syndrome and the self-doubt last week. Let's own it and let's make it smaller, and let's not become bound by it. That's the win that I'm after this week.
Own it, make it smaller, and not be bound by it.
Yep.
Okay. And how will you know in the next 45 minutes that we accomplished owning it and starting to make it smaller?
Oh man, I didn't think it was going to be that hard of a question, Day.
What's it going to feel like for in 45 minutes?
I just want to walk away with a subtle confidence that whenever it pops up, I can I can name it, I can own it, and I can move on with it. Not there. I don't think you can move on from it yet. That's a lifelong process. I get that, but I want to be able to move along with it, knowing that it's there, and just a subtle confidence to know, okay, cool. Like that. That to me is that baby step, right? Of it's there, cool, and um, we're not going to lie. We're not going to push it away. We're not going to negate it. We're not going to, try to I'm not going to try to fool myself that it doesn't exist or it doesn't matter. It's there. It matters, but it's not a stop sign. It's not a roadblock. It's just a billboard on the highway that says, hey, whatever. It's one of those advisory signs. Hey, you've got this feeling here, but it's not a roadblock in the way. Does that make sense?
I'm following.
Okay.
I'm pumped. Ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. How do you feel about then maybe us spending a few minutes here? I almost want to get your brain dump, Josh, on what's kind of the voices when you're feeling terrified, what's going on. Let's get that dump, and then we can maybe find some key themes and start naming different elements of that feeling of being terrified, and then see kind of where we go from there. How's that sound?
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
Um, there's always terror. There's always that fear that you're going to mess something up, and you're going to be responsible for ruining the euphoria that you're feeling from this good time. So there's that. There's a very real fear that this is fool's gold. that it's an accident, that it's not what you've worked for. It's not the things that you've been building your life for. It's not the it's not the real version of you. I guess that kind of ties back right into that fool's gold, right? There's a uh, you know there's also I guess there's also that fear too is you mentioned it was this all just a coincidence? Was this all just the universe lined up in the right way at the right time to give you a good week and that's it? And maybe there's a part of me that wishes that I was just thankful that the coincidence happened, because we should be thankful when the stars line up. But I guess I'm a little bit more deterministic than that. I just want it to be the results of hard work. If it were a coincidence, it would be a letdown. Why work this hard? Why? Like, why put in all this work if it's just left up to, eh, things aligned? And so I guess I think a lot of that plays into this terrifying feeling that maybe there's, I don't want it to be a waste of all the things that I've done. I don't want it to be false. I want it to be real. I want it to be something that is earned, not something that's given. Um, yeah, I think those are some of the big feelings that I feel late at night.
Can I reflect back kind of what I think I'm hearing just to make
Yeah,
sure we're on the
please.
same page?
Yeah, please.
If we're talking about kind of breaking down some of the stories when you're feeling this fear, I'm hearing the fear of messing something up or being responsible for, in your words, kind of ruining the euphoria. This fear around it being an accident or fool's gold or a coincidence, wanting it to be earned and not given, and a fear of hey, this not being the real version of you.
Yeah, yeah. That sums it up very well.
Anything else that feels missing from that list? Just want to flush out like the different things going on. Take a minute if you need time.
I think that sums everything up. Not like as I'm sitting here trying to search in my soul with it. Nothing else is really bubbling out of that. Those are kind of the things that feel the most on the surface that are ready to kind of be addressed.
Okay. So I've got four elements, I think. Josh, I've got the mess something up. I got
Mm-hmm.
responsible for ruining euphoria. I was kind of thinking about bucketing the fool's gold. Is it an accident, coincidence, and wanting it to be earned? Is that a fair grouping, do you think, or would you want to separate those out?
No, I see the corollary through those. I do. I see the corollary through those.
Okay. And the last one is that I have here is it not being a real version of you.
Hmm.
You've talked about the importance of naming stuff, and we'll keep going down this path. But I'm curious how it feels just 3 minutes later to name this into kind of four different groups of what might be happening right now.
Well, I'll tell you that it felt a whole lot longer than 3 minutes on this side. But
Yeah.
uh, it feels good because it's out there. Like that's like that's stuff that you write in your journal, and it gets tucked away, and then when you have moved on to the next life, someone reads your journal and finds it out about you. Like that's that type of stuff that doesn't get seen every day. And now that it's out there, it's like, well, you know, the water's been spilled on the floor. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to leave it there, or are you going to clean it up? So now that it's out there, it's like, let's address it. Let's get it cleaned up. Let's, you know, tackle that task, I guess.
Yeah, and in the coming weeks, we're where I want to get to, where we want to get to is not band-aid solutions, but like a almost like a internal kind of system that you can rely on. So like you told me last week, when those speed bumps come, because it's part of, like you said, running a business is the speed bumps will come. What's that system you can use to mitigate, right, falling into the triangle feelings that we talked about, right? And my thinking is if we can kind of start to dissect what's underneath this fear, then maybe we can start to understand what's happening and slowly figure out what we need to rewire so that you can build those systems. So for these four things, like when you hear yourself say these four things, what's coming to mind?
There's a stark separation between expectations and reality for me. Like all three of those things are in contrast to, like, the question is, is it real or is it counterfeit? Is it chance or is it hard work? All of these things are this. It's a matter of this perception between the two things, and I feel stuck in that gap. I feel stuck in that chasm of I can see both sides of those possibilities, and which way do you lean? I think even as I reflect a little bit in real time, the four areas that you said, it's all four of them are almost or statements, right? Either or, either or, either or, either or. And I feel like I'm stuck on the island of or. Like nothing, like, and I have to swim to one of these islands, and the chances of embracing if it's real or embracing its coincidence, all that stuff. I guess that's kind of that's a big revelation to me. It's everything in my life is a dichotomy. Everything in my life is this questioning on the authenticity or the integrity of whatever I'm experiencing. That tension is a massive dissonance. Like it's the tension between those two things never rarely lets you rest internally, because I'm always struggling between two things. It's exhausting. It can be exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to make sure that I heard you.
Sure.
These four things feels like there's a lot of X or Y. And I've known you for only a week and a half or so, right? So this is a new thing that I've heard from you around you're kind of tying this now to other parts of life or other areas where you find yourself stuck between, like, is it this or is it that? And it sounds like there's some fatigue that comes with being stuck in that space. Am I hearing you right there?
For sure. Yeah. Like the mental gymnastics to run, to have to run that program of possibilities. Like, I'm not a coder or developer or anything, but it's like you run these simulations of both. I feel like I run the simulations of both processes, right? Like, what if it's all on this side? What if it's all fake? What if it's all da 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 da? But what if it's all da 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 da? And if I go back and I reflect, the most empowering part of this week that has been so good is there has not been the or to the bad side. It has all been living in that perception, that everything is real, everything is earned, everything is great, everything is like all on one side. Every single thing that happened built up a body of proof, a week long body of proof, right? That see, good work pays off, da 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 da. And I also obviously I mentioned too how energized they've been because of it. Well, it's because that I haven't been running the negative self doubt, imposter syndrome program on the other side. I just
Yeah.
it hasn't been that week until until last night when I was like, oh, we got to talk about stuff today.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I throw a curveball wild question at you?
Absolutely.
What might be the benefit of you having these fears to some degree?
Oh, I thought about this.
Okay.
The dark side of leadership. Everybody has it. You've got to deal with that stuff. Um, it roots the drive, right? It because you know that the fool's gold side and the imposter side is not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It 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 fuels that drive to reach to the good side. It's there because you maybe it's something like fight or flight, right? That primal instinct to go to survival. You know that promised land isn't on the imposter fake fool side. You know that the promised land is over here, and there's something, even if you can't name it, that part of you will die if you only stay in the dissonant side, and life is truly lived on this side. So you get fueled by that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are definitely positive sides to it, but only if it's kept in balance and only if it's kept in check. And that's the hard thing to figure out how to do, because and maybe it's a fatigue thing where you don't have your defenses up. I don't know, but when those voices get so loud, you feel like it's like you're chained to that side, and no matter how hard you swim, no matter how hard you run, no matter how hard you try to get out, fly, whatever metaphor of movement you want to use, when that dissonant side, when that hard side, when that fake side starts to win, it can get dark quick. So I don't. I hope that addresses the question that you put forth. But that was kind of the initial feeling from it.
For sure. I'm less concerned about if it actually it does address the question. I'm less concerned about if it academically answers the question, more about getting the ball continuing to move forward. And what's pulling at my gut right now, Josh, is we've talked about naming the four different buckets. You mentioned this thing, which is kind of where my brain happened to be going about keeping it in check. So there might be a positive to the nature of the to me, Josh, if I just jump in for a sec, like you having these things shows me how much you care. Someone who's
Oh yeah.
sitting there wondering, hey, like, is it real or is it? Man, I can just see how much you care about yourself and your growth in your business, right? It's not complacency. It's not like, hey, everything. No, like it's there, right? It's that drive you're talking about. We talked about naming these three or four buckets, and now I almost want to name the that scale of keeping it in check, right? Because this isn't really black or white. Is there a fear? Is there not a fear? I almost think of it as like a scale of 0 to 10. And I'm curious if 10 was like the fear is taking over to the extreme, okay? And 0 is there is absolutely no fear at all. What number range to you feels like, hey, let's keep it in check? This is the healthy amount of these fears or inner feelings that is productive.
It is going to sound really stupid, but I like it. I like it because it hit me like a ton of bricks. So you go. I don't know. I think you're in Toronto, right? Is that am I right?
I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what your fuel situation, your vehicle fuel situation there, but in the States here, we have ethanol in our gasoline. They mix ethanol in our gasoline to make the gasoline last longer. And whatever thoughts you have about that's there. So for every dollar you spend, 10% of it is not gasoline, it's ethanol. But it works and they just do it. So I kind of view that ethanol added to the fuel as like 10%. Like if there was if the fear was checked to 10%, where it was logged in the back of the head that it's there, that it's a real thing, that's the warning, right? If it was 10% of the maximization, where you have to be aware of it because of its reality, and it has that much power over you to keep you moving in the other direction, that would be incredible. Let's say that there's a tolerance to 15, 20, 25% based on how things go. But, 10% seems like optimal. 25% seems doable. But the closer that mix goes to 50-50, the faster it would become 75-25. I feel like I just did a whole bunch of weird math. And hopefully my daughter would be proud of me. She's a math person. I'm not. So
I've got it here. I'm tracking. I love this metaphor. No, I got
awesome.
you. No,
Awesome.
no. I got you. Okay. What's the percentage of ethanol right now, or when you were feeling terrified before the session?
Oh man. So through the week, it felt like zero, and then probably in the last day, I started feeling it creeping up, and it was like I could feel it go past 10, go past 20. And I probably this morning, when I was getting ready for a lot of this, it probably felt like 30 to 35% of it being very real, where I could name it. I didn't feel controlled by it, but I could feel it growing. I could feel the more that I began to think about it, the more I began to analyze it, the bigger it became, the bigger it started to take over. I don't feel like I still feel it hasn't impeded forward momentum, but I could hear the warning signs maybe a little more clear.
30 to 35% today. I hear you, and it's kind of creeping up. One more question on this scale, which I just thought of after what you just said.
Sure.
What's the percentage like before last week? Like when you think back to the triangle and maybe some of the worst days of the self-doubt, I'm just trying to get some context on where do we max out? And I'm asking you this because I'll tell you why I'm asking you this, but I want to understand kind of where we max out sometimes.
At its worst, it's 90-10.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at its worst, it's 90-10, where, yeah, it is. It's almost exactly. At its worst, it's almost exactly flipped, where the 10% of reality of knowing it gets better is just the anchor point that you know that you have to reach for. In much in the same way where it's like you're aware that when it's 10% on the ethanol side or the fear side, you know that it's there, but it doesn't affect you. And when it's flipped on the other side, it's like you know that it's there and maybe that there's hope that things get better. So the hope never completely disappears, but boy, does it seem in short supply.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably when it's worse. That's when the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and all the pressures of everything are raging. It's like a 90-10 split.
Okay. I have an idea, Josh, of like the next thread we could maybe go down. But I want to pause for a sec because about 20 minutes ago we landed on today being all about naming it, owning it, starting to make it smaller. And as you and I are getting to know each other, it helps me to know kind of what types of mental frameworks and things like that help. And I'm curious, like, if you reflect on the past 20 minutes, like, how are you feeling in the context of where we're headed with this goal for today?
Feel pretty good. I can physically feel myself getting a little tighter because there's a little anxiousness of the realness of this. Not in a bad way, but I noticed that I'm holding my shoulders a little tighter because of you know we're getting closer to something, right? Like we're getting closer to something. I feel that there's progress. I feel that we've named it. I feel like it's like there's a key on the other side of whatever wall we're at right now. I feel like the physical thing I'm feeling is we're at a wall, but I know that there's something good on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the present update of where I feel at 38 minutes and 3 seconds of this call.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to take a minute to we can shake or do a deep breath or release some of that right now before we keep going? What
No, it
would help
feels
you
good.
right now?
It does it's not like a bad tension. It feels like a good tension to me. Like an anticipate like an athlete like an athletic tension. I see you got your master's jacket on. It feels like that, you're on that back nine and you're within striking distance and you know that you're a shot off the lead and you got that's what it feels right now. So,
Okay. Well, just like Rory, we'll go one shot at a time. We'll go one small step at a time.
sure.
Um, and if you ever want to take a pause, you let me know. Um, the idea that I had, Josh, now that we've kind of looked at the ethanol, so we've named kind of a few of the buckets of the stories of that fear. We've got this framework now of like the ethanol, right? I think a key thing there, we're acknowledging that the goal isn't zero.
Right.
The goal is not zero, right? The goal is kind of that 10 to 25. The thing that's pulling at me, and we don't have to go down this path. So you tell me if you want to go down a different path, yeah? I'm almost curious to go down a path where we look at, like, what if we could understand what drives the ethanol up? And what if we could understand, based on previous situations or whatever, what types of things tend to drive the ethanol down? And my thinking behind that is if we understand what dials it up and dials it down, then we can start to almost over the coming maybe by next week like have a bit of a game plan of like, hey, we know that if these five things happen, it's going to go up. Let's be aware of that. We know when it's at 80, here's what has helped. I'm going to pause here and let you digest that for a sec, but it's just where my gut was going and we don't have to go down that path yet.
I like it, though I'm going to say I don't know if I don't know if I've paid enough attention to what works on either side of those things to be able to like articulate. Like I don't uh we can certainly walk down the path. I don't know how I would answer those things. I don't know if I've ever paid attention. Sometimes you just get in the whirlwind of it and I'm here. Like how did I get here? And that's probably how I feel. Is that you immediately when you asked the question, I was like, man, I don't know how to define what causes it to raise and what causes it to lower. Um, and I probably have never taken time to think about what causes it to raise and causes it to lower. I just have enough in the moment. I feel just like, yeah, it's going up and it's getting better. So, um, I don't know if that changes the way that you want to work through it, or you think that it's still worth going down that path. I'm open to trying.
It kind of makes me want to do it even more.
Oh, okay.
So,
Let's
so
try it here. Lead me through it, man.
well, my question before we go down it is if you had the clarity of what drives ethanol up and what brings it down, and it might not be today, But if you had that clarity, what impact do you think that has on this entire situation we're talking about?
Well, it would certainly help me learn to uh, learn to address things before they got to catastrophic levels. Like awareness is so much of it, right? You know, being able to, I think it would be able to help me identify when things go up and then begin to try to take countermeasures. You know, obviously I'm not foolish enough to think that I'd be able to stop it right away, but you know, over time, the practice of learning that should, at the very least, I think, make things go slower, right? So
Yeah.
they don't elevate or decelerate so super fast. Um, you know, I think that's a realistic outcome. If you could snap a finger and I had that ability right away, um, I think it would certainly reduce the tension of the whirlwind effect of it all for sure. It would help you. It would help me have a better sense of control. Not that I could stop it, or not that I could change circumstances, or not that I could make the world rotate the other way, but just the fact that okay, it's here. Here's a plan. Let's work it and get back in control. Yeah, I think it would definitely help get back in control in a real way.
Okay. So we can go down that path, Josh. Uh, your answer there about what that would give you makes me think that at some point, whether it is today or maybe next week or whenever, that type of exercise might give us some of the keys so that when you and I are no longer doing coaching, if ethanol starts to go up, there's that awareness, like you said, of, okay, why is it going up? And then if it's at 50, we know, like, okay, here's like the 3 or 4 things that have helped in the past that we're going to lean on in the lowest moments to bring it back down to 25, right?
Yeah.
We can go down that path, Josh. The other thing we can do, and you tell me what you feel like is a better use of the next kind of 15, 20 minutes for us. The other thing we can do is we could focus on how you're feeling right now, like that 30, 35%, and focus on a shorter term of like, what could we go through right now to kind of help get that back under 25?
Yeah, could we focus on this now? And the reason why I'd like to do that is, you know, I've been on this roller coaster or I've been on this wave of good stuff, and I would like to prolong it another week.
Yeah, man.
Like I would like to do that, and maybe we can stumble across in some of the things that can help we prolong what I'm feeling now. Maybe that will help set the road or set the course for the other stuff in our next session. Does that sound reasonable?
100%.
Uh,
1,000%. So, how about we then dive into kind of the 30, 35 right now?
sure.
All right. I hear you on these 3 or 4 areas. The fear of messing something up or being responsible for ruining the euphoria, or is it is it fool's gold? Is it the real version of you? And I will say, Josh, like when we start to get good news, when we start to feel that shift, there is a very natural human tendency to be like, holy shit, when is the other shoe gonna drop?
Oh, that's the best way of putting it. Yes. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
going to be part of the territory of growth. Okay? And I've seen it so many times and I've felt it myself. So there's part of that that's going to be there. Okay?
Yes.
I would love to get your objective point of view. If we were in court and you were under oath, I want to get your objective point of view of the things that you have done, not only in the past week, but in the past months or the past years of building this business. What are the things in your control that you've done that you genuinely believe have led to the goodness of this past week and what that week represents, whether it's the client testimonials or getting the clients or whatever?
As I do solemnly swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, as far as I can as far as I can convey it. So related or non-related, one of the biggest things that, you know, I have done over the last year of my life was to completely change my attitude toward my personal health. And I'm now a self-proclaimed gym rat. I am at the gym 6 or 7 days every week. I've completely changed my diet. I've completely done those things and have become very disciplined in that pursuit. That discipline has also helped me become disciplined in other areas of my life. And so it is the trickle effect. Going to the gym and seeing the progress there, there's that corollary of, I put this work in, this is my result. That has helped keep me grounded in those things, where I believe it at the gym, but I'm not so sure I believe it on some other things. So let me get very specific with a client that I'm working with right now. One of the things that I felt was a huge breakthrough that showed this whole progress was, we had a difference of opinion on the way that a creative element should go. And there was times in my life where I would have, okay, cool, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, we're going to do it your way. You know what you want, da, 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 da. Knowing that I think there was a better way, but in the service of the customer, I would violate my expertise that I have been working for. So in the past, I've had this customer and had some exchanges with it, and I stuck to my guns, and we had a better outcome. That was kind of the launch of the positives of this week, where I was like, I hear you, I see your idea, I think this is a better way to go, this will give you a better effective result. And when they were like, okay, I trust you, awesome, let's do that, there was a correlation of, I put in that work, now it's paying off. So I guess that's a long way of saying is, you take a chance to bet on yourself, and when other people give you the validation that you know what you're doing, that hard work pays off. Right? So those are the catalysts that I feel really, really give me that boost to keep that ethanol at bay. Where when I'm true to myself and it pays off, it feels so much more real than whether I sit back and I say, hey, whatever you want, I want to make you happy. You know, I feel like I've shortchanged myself and all the hard work that I've done. So I don't know. Is there anything there in that? That was, I guess, just kind of what bubbled up out of the line of questioning there. I don't know if it was right or wrong, but that's what bubbled up. So
The only right is the fact that you're being open and honest. That's the only thing that's right, right? Right? There's the gym, the diet, a very clear input leads to output. I heard you kind of say sometimes like you see it there, but other areas it might not be as much. But we're starting to see a little bit of the inputs leading to outputs, right? You being true to yourself, you leaning into your expertise, that conversation with that client, and how you held your ground. I'm putting words in your mouth. You held your ground in a way that was aligned to your values, right? And you're seeing the results from that.
yeah, there's something there. You said the word values, man. That's a big that's a big thing for me. Whenever I have contradicted my own value system is a massive trigger for the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome. Whenever I lied to myself and justified myself out of my value system is a one-way ticket down the roller coaster to the other side. Like that term values there clicked for me. If I violate, excuse me, if I violate my personal values, I can spiral really quick.
And how clear do you feel on what those values are?
Very.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's been something since college for me that it was, you know, uh, you got to have a code that you live by. You've got, it's the only way to at least try to make sense of the world. And if you can be true to yourself and all of those things, at least you're a stable influence when everything else is going crazy. And maybe because I have those values and maybe because they are so strong that whenever I do violate them out of an insecurity or just whatever reason, that is like, that's that imposter syndrome. See, I told you so. See, you're just full of crap. See, da 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 da. And that's like the opening that two of those sides of the triangle need to rage. So yeah, that's a big catalyst that we've stumbled across.
I want to make sure I'm following and tracking. There's a tie-in between the times where you feel like you might not be living by that code and imposter syndrome coming in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Some people aren't really clear on their code, but you sound like you're clear on the code and the values that you want to live by, which is a great. It skips that step of us having to get clear on that.
Yeah, I feel pretty clear. Like, uh, I'm not like this. I'm not like a rigid person where it's like, this is the way it is. I know that the code is adaptable and it changes in time as we change in people and we get new information. But the core of that code for me is that core. Like, it just is. Um, like, there's like a there's a strong-willed side to me that's very dedicated to that code. Um, it served me well. I can't say that it hasn't. And I don't know if there's, if I don't know if I have the ability to understand why I ever violated. That probably will remain a mystery for however long, because I don't know why we do the things that we know cause us harm. Because I know, I know every time that I violate that code that it's open to, it opens me up to a lot of things. I don't know why I do it, yet I still do. Don't know why, but yeah, I do. I'm. I don't want to say I'm proud of my code, but it's something that I. It's something. My code to me is something that I hope to impart to my daughter. Like, it means that much to me, right? It's that type of thing. So violating it is. It's like a sin against what is sacred, maybe, to say, uh, what I get. That would probably be a way that I would feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, that felt good.
So as we land in our last few minutes, where's our ethanol at right now?
Mm. feels low. I don't know if I can put a pin number on it, but it feels low. Definitely under that threshold. Definitely under that. Like I don't feel it. I don't feel the draw to that side much at all. Yeah.
Is there anything that comes to mind, and this might feel clearer in the coming days? Is there anything that comes to mind that you think helped in the past hour get it lower? And I'm asking just if we can name that, then we're starting to create a catalog of something that has clicked here for you.
I scoff because I don't think it should be this easy. Just talking about it. It's one of those. It's one of those things that they talk about. Men, they never talk about their feelings. Never talk about these things, right? It's always one of those classical, societal conversations that are had. Just talking about the reality of what is in a space of a trusted advisor, and knowing that we take it, we don't make inferences from it. We just say it is what it is. Getting that out there and then trying to dig through it a little bit releases its power. It sounds so simple, and sometimes I know I'm guilty of this, that when it means so much on the inside, we want it to be a harder solve on the outside. But it's not. It's lowered because we've talked about it and we've named it. And it doesn't seem so big and ugly and scary because we just talked about it. Fair?
Fair. Oh. Fair, my friend. Shoulders came down a bit.
Yeah, it feels loose. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do in the next week that's aligned to your values, in your control, to just keep doing the things that you need to do to keep that at all low?
So I'm gonna try to, whenever I feel that maybe that tension, that physical tension that we talked about a few minutes ago, take a second and talk about it. And I don't know. I mean, obviously you're not on my call 24 hours a day, and I would never do that to you. But I also don't know if I have another voice in my life that I can just do that. So my thought was, what if I just made a voice memo on my phone of the dump? Do you think that would be something that could be like a stand-in for that? Does that work until I, come up with something better?
Yeah, for sending it to me or for yourself or both?
Just for myself. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to burden anybody for anything, but just being able to say it out loud and dump it has seemed to be, I don't know, part of the process of getting this stuff going.
100%. And you can send it to me if you want to. I'm here. But yes, when I talk it out loud to myself on a walk, on AirPods, pretending I'm on a call, but I'm talking to myself, naming it. I do that a lot. When I write it out, it's just that mechanism of taking what's in our brain and naming it. So that is a very, for me, consistent practice. And the voice memo is a great example of that. So to me, I love that idea, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I can mutter to myself on the treadmill if I have to or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the action plan for me, is to, whenever I feel these things in this week, just to voice memo it.
And what will you do to hold yourself accountable to doing this action?
Oh man, now the hard questions come out. I don't know. Would you be open to like auto scheduling like a text message at a random point, like
Yeah,
twice during the week? Hey, how's the voice memo thing going? Would that be something that
100%.
would be outside the view?
100%. We can
Yeah,
totally do that.
just like kind of a hey, just how's that going? And I'll I'll do one of two things. I will either be truthful with you or I will violate my personal code. It will be one of those two things. And either way, we'll have something to talk about.
Okay, sounds good. Any loose ends, Josh, before we wrap?
Nah, I feel good. I'm continuing pondering the power. I'm gonna definitely be pondering that this week. The power of just talking this out. I'm feeling it here. Of that, I don't know how to name it. I don't have the vocab to describe that, but I'm feeling it, and I know that that's going to be in my thoughts this week.
Amazing. I appreciate you so much. You've been so open and genuine, and that means the world to me.
Dude, I appreciate the space.
Yeah.
I appreciate the space. This is so valuable. It's so valuable. But I mean, if I don't have a good week this week, it's obviously going to be your fault, right? Because last week you were responsible for a good one. So no, I won't put that on you. I won't put that on you.
Oh man, Josh, have an awesome week. Always a ping away. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Cheers.